All right. Welcome to Soundheads. I'm Sophia and Massad.
I'm Tristan Todd, and this is Soundheads, where we get into the minds of the music industry.
And a huge thanks to Gilson at 33rd Street Studios for the setup,
for
the
allowing
audio.
us to record here. Yeah, the whole thing.
Check it out.
Do it.
Today we've got Victoria Crocker.
Hey,
awesome.
what's up,
Yeah, our
y'all?
first guest, band manager, audio production, and
kind of all around music
kinda
media,
all around music media,
marketing,
event staff, all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
So we're gonna pick her brain for a little bit and get some juicy details of her perspectives and
Yeah,
stuff.
man, happy to be here.
Yeah. So I guess give us like the synopsis. Where did you start? Where'd you go?
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
Where did I come
Nice
from?
show.
My mom. No, I'm just kidding. Well, so music has always been. This is like probably gonna be way too extensive because I'm a Leo and I just am. Yeah, great. Thank you for shaking your head, Sophia. I really appreciate that. I have always had it like in my bones. I grew up a percussionist, which kind of got me into production more easily than like other things. Piano I think is percussion, but we'll leave that argument up to the pros. Grew up and then went to ACM for a little bit when I was in college because I'm not anymore. And then I studied music business there for about a semester, and this was when I was like 19. So I got into the whole like Oklahoma City kind of like group of kids who were learning about the music industry going through that school.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Dallas when I was about 20. And then I basically just started working with bands. I became a marketing major there in the college that I was going to at the time. So I was learning a lot about PR and how basically parallel that stuff was to like band management essentially. And so I started working with a couple of local bands in Dallas, probably in like 2018.
Okay.
19,
yeah.
Probably 19. And then we got pretty far booking shows, helping other artists come from out of state and book shows at the venue that I was basically just helping like promote and coordinate for a couple of years. Then COVID hit, right?
Darn you, COVID.
Yeah.
Bum, bum.
Just ruined everyone's life. And I was just a hermit for like 8 months. No live music, no other like up and coming artists to work with.
Kind of same, yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So pandemic vibes.
No shame, no shame. Anyway, and then moved back up here 2 years ago, and kind of when I've always been friends with a few people who work at Tower Theater here in Oklahoma City. And I've always, had that bug in their ear. They've seen what I did in Dallas, just like show-wise and helping a couple different artists out down there. And they were like, hey, why don't you just come and start working shows? And then that just led me into like learning a lot. Settling, split deals, just a bunch of the backbone stuff for bands and live shows. So now I have been lucky enough to be managing Dinosaur Boyfriend for about 3 months, maybe 3 or 4 months now. And just learning from my bosses at Tower, production manager, shout out Emily Egerton and JMO at Beer City and Tower Theater. Yeah, they have just really embraced me and taught me like so much about all of that. So. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thanks for
cool background.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. No, not at all.
So what exactly do you do at Tower right now?
I am basically one of the event staff bosses. So all that little grunt work that you see that goes down during a show, right? You play shows all the time. You know how nasty it can get and how nitty gritty the details are, right?
Right.
So all that crap, the crap that you deal with, that's my job. So I make sure.
I give you all the crap to deal with. Yeah.
Just give me your crap and I'll handle it.
Great.
Yeah, I know. I just make sure box office is running smoothly, ticket sales are running smoothly. That we have an operating box office, that everybody who's on the list gets there, says they're getting there. Whatever the artist needs, make sure nobody passes out in the show. All that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's important. That's the important one.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
You said you were trying to promote bands and stuff when you were in Dallas, and even now with Dinosaur Boyfriend. Yeah. Like, what do you look for in artists whenever you're looking to promote somebody? Is it kind of just find somebody you gel with, or is there a certain vibe or a certain like aspect of their music that you like?
I think that's a really good question, because I think unfortunately that can vary from like manager to manager or like promoter to promoter. When it comes to finding an artist that you're interested in and trying to work with them. For me and the people that I looked up to the most in the industry, like my bosses at Tower and stuff and Beer City right now, it's about that feeling that you get whenever you like say you're on your Discover Weekly on Spotify and you're like, oh, what's that song? And you go back and you hear it. That's the feeling that we look for. And then everything else kind of like comes secondary to me, because that's like the biggest sell in my mind. Okay. So whether it's the band doesn't get along that great, but they make this sound, like to me, it's worth it to put that like extra effort in communicating.
Make everybody play nice.
To make exactly. So it's really just that sound of, hey, play that song again, and like that feeling that you get from like knowing like that this is like art.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good pointers.
How do you know when a band is like ready to have a manager?
For the most part, they all do. So I think they all need some help. But I think that comes with the experience that they have, obviously, and then definitely if they're open to it and what I would bring to the table. Me being confident enough, knowing what I could bring to the table for this band that I think is ready for an extra set of hands.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. We kind of talked about that last week, where we were talking about like different musicians we played with, and like that you got to break down that ego a little bit, and just to like be able to collab with other people.
Oh, absolutely.
To an extent. And I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like with a lot of bands, to bring on a band manager like that, you have to kind of have that already kind of broken down a little bit in yourself, so that you're open to taking that guidance from somebody that can do exactly what you do for their sound or for their band or whatever it is.
Sure.
So I think that's really cool.
Oh my God, thanks.
Even like not being offended by someone being like, hey, you need to turn down, or, you know, even just like having someone in the crowd to tell you like how to sound better in the mix, you know, that can sometimes be really hard. But I feel like that's such a benefit from having a manager and like someone outside of the band that can look in.
I think so too. I don't like, don't get me wrong, it's not easy and I don't like love that part of the job, right? But I know that it's necessary, especially if like you believe enough in the artist or group that you're working with, and other ones.
Definitely, that's got to be the hardest part of that job for sure. Is to
being the glue.
Be the bad guy.
Yeah,
it kind of is.
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I definitely get help. Like I definitely will go through like an artist's significant other sometimes. So, like, I have no shame in that. So,
hey, whatever.
Give them an extra little nudge, like hey.
Professionally, yes.
I agree. It's good.
It's the most like energy consuming part of the job, but I think it's probably the most important, especially when working with a group.
So something I think people would be really interested in learning about is kind of how you help out with, I guess, booking shows, and then also like song releases. I know those are very different questions, but like let's start with booking shows. Like, do you do that for the bands that you work for? Full time? Like they don't book them and you just take over and make sure it's all good to go?
Yeah, it varies. There are some venue promoters and owners that are familiar with the artist more than they are with me, say, or vice versa. Yeah. So there are some times when they will go through, like through Dinosaur Boyfriend, some venues around town. Some know me, some don't. So the ones that don't know me, that know Mario, will like reach out to our front man.
Yeah, so it's like a team effort.
Yes.
To do that.
Yes. But we have like a scheduling app. We have Time Tree, so we literally just try to like stay on the same page as much as possible, because I like to take that like admin stuff away from the artists, because I feel like they should just be focusing on art, right?
Right.
So
I feel that.
There's that. But if they want to do it, that's fine too. And just being able to be open and coordinate that with them too is ideal for me.
Yeah. So like whenever your bands want to release a song, like I know they have the vision, I guess. Do you kind of put together like how it's gonna look, I guess, album cover wise and stuff like that? And like I guess you do all the PR side of it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of obsessed with this part. But I'd be lying to you if I told you it worked out my way every time. This is probably one of the biggest battles is not wanting to step on anybody's toes. Yeah. Specifically that artist. So with me, I have OCD. So I'm very like, okay, like what new projects do you have coming up? Can it be an EP? Which one's going to be the single? We're going to drop the single. We're going to do a video. We're going to do a shoot. We're going to do all this marketing, and then we're going to drop the EP. So that's kind of my like mindset behind it. It's all about momentum, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know that. So me just like reminding the artist, I feel like some artists can forget about momentum. Maybe.
Yeah, just stuck in the art.
Yeah.
Kind of forget about the outside world part of it.
Which is important if you want to do what, they want to do. So I try to push my marketing agenda a little bit more, and I feel like that's something that it's a huge thing I bring to the table. So I'm very pro marketing pros, like planning all of that out. It's important. I think it can make or break you as an artist.
Oh yeah,
so.
totally. I mean, right song, wrong time is the worst.
It'll ruin you. Yeah. It'll ruin you.
Yeah.
It'll ruin the song. Like it's like Omar Apollo started releasing music when he was, I think the year out of high school, and which was only like 4 years ago, like not that long ago. I know, it's like what? And he literally had like one song, Break Lights, get really big on Spotify, and his manager Dylan Shanks, whose dad is like in the industry, so he had a little bit of a leg up, but I try not to. I'm not bitter or anything. It's fine. Saw the stats and the streams on that one song because he happened to release it at like that one time, and it made him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I recently had a song that I released under a different thing, but I forgot to like submit it to playlists and like do the Spotify playlist thing before it released. And I just like released it on Friday and like nothing because it was like it just matters so much, like the pre-production, but most artists don't know that. I feel like it's hard to go from that artist brain to like marketing and being like, how am I going to sell my song? I don't know. I feel like that's such an important part of having a manager, having someone outside of the band to like put you in your place, really.
Thank you for saying that. That makes me feel really validated.
No, it's super. It's a whole nother landscape, and it's super important to like the full picture. Like you can have a beautiful picture, but if it's held together by a paper mache frame, it's gonna fall off the wall really easily.
Right. Yeah, someone's gonna on it.
All over.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I know that you've been releasing music for how long now? Like 5 or 6 years?
I think I released my first EP in 2014.
Nice.
So a hot minute.
Oh,
8 years.
Yeah.
Wow. No math.
No, that's really impressive.
I deleted it. Don't worry. It's not on the internet anymore.
I want to see that.
It was a pop album, but I got through my first one and was able to figure out what to do. But I've always been like self-managed, and it's always been like in the back of my mind. But it's hard to find someone who like works with an artist well enough to know what the artist wants and not just like step on their toes or forget about them. I've had managers for like short amounts of time, and they're just like, oh yeah, you need something? And I'm like, so I'm gonna do this myself.
I think I might say something kind of controversial.
Go for it.
But I think that
like
any manager, hot take, I think that any manager that is working with an artist that has that attitude has no business working with that artist. Like, I would never go as far as to say like it's such an important piece of like the band, but it kind of is. Like it has to be passionate on this side as well.
Right.
It can't just be like all business.
Which you gotta believe in it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to believe in the project and all that. So that's why I'm like particular about it, and that's why I like enjoy it. Obviously, there's not a ton of payoff immediately, but you can feel it. Yeah.
That's
can
awesome.
You feel it?
So can you feel it now, Mr. Krabs.
So when you're working with a band and they're playing a show, what are things that you look for them to like improve upon in their set?
I think first and foremost, sound.
Yeah.
Sound is huge, especially when you're working with more professional and like more larger scale venues, whether it's Tower, Beer City, or the Criterion, like here in Oklahoma City. Just knowing everything tech about your band, everything sound is like the number one thing that when I'm working that I look for in a band. And then other than that, probably just like good energy. Is that like too
No, that's real.
Cliche to say? Yeah.
When you say good energy, do you mean like the dynamics between the members of the band, or do you mean like stage performance energy, or all of the above? I guess.
I think more like all of the above. Like they have good like synchronicity, maybe.
Yeah.
And then really importantly too, I would look for them working well with the venue. So it's music hospitality is like my passion. That's like what I try to bring to the table, whether it's working the shows or like working with bands or different artists. It's all about music hospitality. It means a lot. Like the other day when we had Omar Apollo come through Tower Theater, I like got him a birthday cake because it was his birthday.
Nice.
And like that one small little touch, he literally came down and like thanked me and like picked me up and like hugged me, and then was like I was like, yeah, you should. I just like dropped it like casually, like, yeah, you should come back. Like, and he was like, oh, I definitely will. Like, my whole team had such a good time. Like, thank you guys so much for the hospitality that you guys brought, and like that's what matters. You know?
Yeah. On the other end, I feel like it matters just as much for the artists to
like
puts them into like to be that way to the venue.
comfortable environment. Exactly.
Yeah. I always grew up at the Oklahoma Opry, and they always said, like, your performance starts the second you step out of your car. Like, you better be happy. You better be friendly. Yeah. You got to be good to your venues, and they'll be good back to you.
Period. I love that a lot. Thanks for sharing that.
I've got a few more questions, but then we can get to some fun off-topic questions, kind of.
Off-topic questions. There's no limits, you guys.
Yeah.
Everything's on topic for a manager.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
You better stop. On topic, Victoria Crocker. People that knew me as a kid heard that. No way.
So as a band manager, have you had any nightmare venue experiences? Like, you've gone and you were just like, I am never coming back to this venue, and you don't have to drop the venue name or anything, just like give me your nightmare
probably
nightmare
like
experience.
A third of the venues.
Give us your worst.
Oh, the worst. Okay. You were actually there. I was only there for a little bit, and it was this, like, you guys, it was like a coffee shop, but like not a coffee. There was no coffee. I didn't see any coffee. And there was no stage. It was just like a corner, which I really like. I am kind of a brat. I work really hard, and I'm like, you know what? My band's going to be on a stage, whether it's just like a lift or anything, like they're going to be on a stage. And they were not on a stage, and there was like no PA system, no windows in this. It was just like a grimy little venue. Okay. So obviously I was not liking what I was seeing in the little bit that I was seeing. And when it came down to settle, there was no like settling deal, which like isn't ideal for somebody, to me, on this level of like the band that I was working with that was playing in this particular venue. It's just disrespectful. I think there's a certain level of professionalism, whether it's schedule organization or like me showing up and then being like, oh, it's you guys today? Oh, we actually thought it was this other band, but whatever. Like, that's not like, could you imagine, Sophia?
It's like, a nightmare.
Literally, you show up to do a gig and they're like, oh, it's that day? Like,
man. I would never be back.
Right.
Not cool.
And I know. And then, like, say you cancel a gig too, and then they text you like the day before. You cancel weeks before the gig, and then they text you the day before and are like, hey, are you still coming? Like, professionalism. Let's go. Yeah. Still a no. So that is probably a huge thing that set me off about that venue, is that lack of, like, I'm, like I said, OCD. So, and I'm over here, like, I think I'm busting my ass. I think the artists I'm working for are busting their ass. Like, I know how much it takes to be a creative. Like, we're either going to be professional or we're not performing here. That's just, I know that sounds pretentious maybe or stuck up, but it's all about work.
I think that's definitely fair for a venue anyway. I mean, and for a lot of these venues, I feel like the artists and the music that comes in is the main draw for that venue. So whether it be like a bar venue or just like a venue in general. So the fact that you can't be professional to your main attraction kind of speaks a lot. So
yeah, it really, really, really grinds my gears, you guys.
This week on What Grinds Victoria's Gears.
Thank you. Professionalism.
But,
what's one of the best experiences you've had?
I think maybe it's on our calendar, so maybe yet to come, but that we have had so far. I would say this was a couple of years ago. I was helping an artist get into Norman Music Fest, and I think that was like the best experience I've had. Just the, honestly, professionalism. I hate to be redundant, but that's just super important to me.
Word of the day, professionalism.
Speaks volumes, speaks volumes. You know, they were organized. They knew they were on time. Which never happens. And like, it was just a really good experience. These people knew what they were doing. Shout out Norman Music Fest. They do really well. They do really good work here in Oklahoma, and that was probably one of my favorites. And then, if I may, all the shows we do at Tower are also biased. Are also my favorite, right? The managerial team there, Micah Young. Oh my gosh, if I would be lucky to be half as good as her. The way she handles you have to be ready for anything, right? Whether it's band being late or sound check running late or there being like an issue in the crowd or any of that, she really just handles it all. Like, I always make this joke, she goes in her car at the end of the night and just like screams bloody murder because she's so cool, calm, and collected like all the other time, and handles everything.
Got to get everything out.
Yeah,
and the sidelines.
Yeah, and so I think the best place that I've seen that done the best is Tower Theater. So I really love every show that we have at Tower too.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you want to move on to like fun questions?
That was a fun question.
Well, that was a fun question, but like off-topic
These
questions.
are all fun questions.
Oh, wait.
The whole thing is fun.
I have one that's not fun.
Keep going. They're all fun.
It's really boring. I'm just kidding. What is like your biggest piece of advice that you would give to someone who like wants to start performing and booking shows?
Good question.
That is a really good question. I would say be organized. It's probably a couple-parter one answer. Be organized and be confident.
Yeah,
those two. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be organized, be confident. Everything else will come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Believe in your art. The more you believe in your art, the better it sounds. The better it sounds, the better venues you'll work with. Better venues you'll work with, the more better managers and TMs you'll work with. And I think it all can just take off from there.
Sweet.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who is like stuck, like in, I guess, their music career, someone who's like played all the venues they want to play and recorded all the stuff they want to play? Like, what's the next step, or how do they start booking bigger venues or bringing in more fans?
Yeah.
These are all really, really in-depth questions. Okay.
No, they're really good.
You.
Yeah, they're really good. Don't roast her.
I'm not roasting anybody. I thought it was a genuine. I was being genuine. I liked the question.
I do too. It's a hard one, but I think I can answer it. I would say you have to like find the fire and the passion to be able to just keep going, right? So whether that is a rebrand or like a reorganization, or I'm all about being organized, right? And reaching out to more people. I think whether it's venues or putting yourself in the environment, that's the biggest thing. I think you got to put yourself out there. You have to be around people that are in the industry. If you like, go get a job working at the venue down the street from your house, go just start going to shows. That's how I made my best friends when I was in high school, is showing up by myself to the shows that I liked in my town and networking that way. Networking is huge, and I feel like creatives can be lacking on that because they're so busy doing other things, right?
Yeah.
So,
and often introverted, and
often,
in my experience,
more often than not.
This took everything for me to come out here and talk.
You're doing great.
You're killing it, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're one of the good ones in the city for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be really proud.
I found early on that if you attend people's shows, they'll notice you, they'll recognize you, and they'll start coming to your shows.
They'll attend yours.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a great piece of advice too. You should say that again for the people in the back.
Say for
come to shows, and people will come to your shows. It's all about community.
It really is, period.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be, especially if you're an artist, do not be afraid to ask for help.
That's something I've really struggled with, even in our band. I mean, Tristan's been with me for 5 years now.
Yeah.
4.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
something like that.
hardly ever ask for any like help with anything.
I know. I've literally asked her multiple times. I'd be like, "Do you need me to help do anything, or what can I do to like lessen the burden on you?" She's like, "It's fine. It's whatever."
It's not fine, Sophia.
Yeah. Well, delegating is tough when it's like your art, and you're like, "Well, I don't want this to come off the wrong way." And like even reaching out to venues and like magazines and stuff, I feel like it's so like not personal if I have someone else reach out to them. Really, it's impossible to do it all.
Yeah, it really is, and you need help for sure. Not you.
You've gotten better though, Sophia. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
And I know it's scary because it is your art, and that is a challenging part. I think that goes back to kind of what Tristan was saying earlier too, about it being an integral part of being a manager, or like, what even is that? You know what I mean? It's just like a glorified administrator, I feel. Yeah. But when it comes to the glue, like an artist I've worked with, like in like a full set 5-piece band, right, he almost just didn't communicate anything at all because he was scared about like what all the other band members were gonna think. And that's like to me, the most important job for the artist that I'm working for. And like, that's the same thing, like they need to be able to communicate to publications, right, venues, like everything else. So it's scary, but do it.
We learn more from failing than we do from succeeding.
That's it.
That's words of wisdom that I was told as a wee little laddie.
A
wee little laddie was you learn way more from failing than you ever do from succeeding, so it's okay to fail.
What's the you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky.
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. We'll transition into our off-topic questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is just
Never
gonna be
have I ever. Just kidding.
Yeah. This is gonna be kind of like off-topic, unmusic related, just kind of more just to get to know you. What's your favorite show, TV show, and least favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show is probably a 3-way tie between RuPaul's Drag Race,
Okay.
Girls on HBO, and Entourage on HBO.
Okay. I was not
Big
expecting
inspiration.
like
Okay.
Oh yeah, E
Nice.
on Entourage. Big managerial inspiration. Come on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only watched that show in a bar once. I was in Texas and I was like, all right.
Yeah,
Watch
yeah,
the show.
yeah. That makes sense.
Nice.
What about you guys?
Oh, man, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
you go
that is
first. I watch
really
a
hard.
lot of TV.
I don't know.
Me too.
I watch way too much anime to be able to like accurately address that question.
Oh no, give us the anime.
Oh man, my favorite of all time is One Piece, and that's probably my hands down best. Like I'd die for One Piece.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
that's serious.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, but as far as like normal TV shows, I mean, I don't know. I really liked Dead Like Me growing up. I don't know if you ever watched that TV show. It's a whole thing back in the early 2000s. I really liked that show. And then My Name is Earl, weirdly enough.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
Don't know.
good.
Wow.
He's a great actor.
I don't know why. Okay, what about you, Sophia?
Yeah.
I'm basic. I always say like The Office and,
Well,
Parks and
yeah,
Rec,
they're
New Girl.
great.
Yeah, those are good shows, though.
Yeah, I'm mostly like a I watch TV while I do stuff kind of person though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You do a
Yeah.
lot. So
I do a
believe
lot.
That.
And I listen to a lot of TV.
I listen to
Ooh,
so much
and
TV.
Schitt's Creek. That's a good one.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
I've heard great things.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
Very funny.
I do want to mention, since we're talking about television, I do want to mention my favorite thing to watch right now.
Yeah, go for it.
It's not a TV show, but it is actually a documentary about a local saloon called the Red Dog.
Oh my god,
Do
on
any-
Hulu? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, and it's also available for, actually, it's streaming free if you have Prime TV. So
Oh,
shout out the
shoot.
Red Dog documentary and Luke Dick. But do you know what the Red Dog is, Sophia?
No, tell
Want
me.
Should I tell you?
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
for it.
It's amazing. It made
We're
me
not
really,
sponsored.
We're not sponsored. It made me really proud to just be like a working artist in Oklahoma, though. So the Red Dog is basically, it's a strip club that's been owned and operated locally since, I want to say, the 60s, but that is a reach.
It's
It's
been a
probably
long
the 70s.
time. It's like
I think
generational.
it was
almost.
70s. No, yeah. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was in like Hollywood movies. They would like name drop the Red Dog and be like, "No, man, I was partying." I think in Dazed and Confused, there's
Yeah,
like a
I think
scene
so,
where
yeah.
he's like. Anyway, it's this crazy documentary about this guy who's a famous country singer now named Luke Dick, and his mom he grew up to learn was a dancer there with all her friends who were like, which are
fun.
people he grew up with. Yeah, and he basically takes a camera over a span of a couple of years and sits down, interviews his mom, some of the old bouncers, some of the old dancers,
That's
and
so cool.
just like go over the story, their
Wow.
story of like what happened, how they got there, what happened while they were there, and what happened after. And it's a really, really, really cool artistic view of what happens in the contributing art community here in Oklahoma, because
Yeah.
dancers are, to me, I can't do that. Like that's some of the highest art form
yeah.
you could do to me. So
Yeah, if you've
it's
ever
really
tried
cool.
to pole dance,
Yo.
it's impossible.
No, I could. I trust me. I want to.
Yeah.
If I could dance like that, I would. But I wasn't blessed like they're blessed. And so anyway, watch it. It's called Red Dog, Prime
Awesome.
TV.
Okay.
Really cool Oklahoma artistic
Nice.
perspective on
Very
a
cool.
strip club. Yeah,
I don't know
That's
if you guys
interesting.
follow FKA Twigs.
absolutely.
Love her. She had like 6 months there, I think during COVID, when she learned how to pole dance.
Oh,
And
wow.
that is amazing.
What can she
It's
not
amazing.
do?
She can do everything.
Did you see her swordsmanship that she did for the Sad Day music video?
No.
Dude,
I want to be her
same.
one day.
Now she studied swordsmanship for a year for this music video,
Oh,
and she's
wow.
continued to like.
That's
yeah,
Star Wars
it's-
level.
Yeah, that's really cool.
right?
Is there anything that you want to promote or talk about that you have coming up in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working with this band now called Dinosaur Boyfriend. I probably mentioned it earlier. Thank you, by the way, for that opportunity.
Yeah.
Tristan is in the band. With Dinosaur Boyfriend, though, we do have a little bit of a stacked calendar, and then I think we might try to do like a mini tour, but maybe just like later in the fall. Maybe it's cooler outside, you know?
Yeah, definitely when it's cooler.
Right? Dinosaur Boyfriend is performing, opening up for Donovan Funk on September 9th, which is a Friday, so 9/9. And yeah, tickets are $7. Link in my bio. So nice.
Yeah,
or the Pony Boy
We'll get
website.
some details from you so we can put it in the bio for you.
July 23rd, Dinosaur Boyfriend EP release, merch drop, and September 9th, Pony Boy debut. So that'll be really cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Cool,
Very exciting.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you so much
for
coming and chatting with us.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank
don't
you.
thank me. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
You're awesome. I feel
You're
like we learned a
awesome.
lot. Like, I'm very excited to
just want
to listen.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
I just want to flip this table
I'm
right
inspired.
You made me laugh. You're making me blush.
now. The inspirational quotes that were going on. Professionalism, the word of the day.
Professionalism and organization.
Yeah.
2 words no artist wants to hear.
That's what we're naming the episode.
Period. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Of
You
course.
guys are super fun, super easy to talk to.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Again, I'm Tristan Todd.
I'm Sophia Massad, and don't forget to keep your head in the sounds.
Love it.
That's a wrap.
I wish it was a rap.
There you go.
Don't forget to keep your head in the sounds. If you don't, then you will probably drown.